the European casters about Fnatic and how for a lot of the season they had played a lot of late game and drafted for a lot of late game because they were so confident in it. And no one here could really challenge them. But heading into MSI and looking at international competition, they decided to practice a lot more early game. So maybe we'll see that here, even though in game number 1, they did not show early game focus.
We'll have to see what their lanes end up being. Of course, there's no early Kai'Sa this time around. They've banded away for themselves, do not want to allow Betty to play that champion. But I do want to see what kind of style they do go for. If they pick the EULCS scale into late game, win team fights later, or if they do find something like a Caitlyn to win early lanes.
And look, your preparation for Flash Wolves will be significantly different than your preparation for Uzi and RNG. If you think back to game number 1, they banned 3 supports in the first round, a Lulu in the second round, trying to stop the empowering of Uzi. Betty has had a better split, but internationally has consistently struggled. They still go with the Kama Rakan in the first round.
Yeah, one thing you definitely have to respect is Sword Art and the playmaking abilities, so they're still throwing up, you know, Rakan not going to get that one out. First pick is going to be Trundle. This is a very common thing that we've seen. Tank Shredder, also very good duelist from the jungle, so a pretty standard start here for Flash Wolves.
If you can take high-tempo champions like the pushing mid laners, think of the Talia they took last time. I think Trundle has a lot of value. At level 1, he can be set behind, but if he's ahead of the play and not reacting, Trundle often dictates the early game.
And he often ends up being king of the tanks in the mid to late game as well. Find an Ornn or a Cho'Gath to ult, subjugate, take all the stats, King's Tribute now as it is, and ooh, a little bit of potential early pressure coming through. Either way, Morgana, a strong laner in her own right, works well into almost all the matchups, and if Graves comes through, another great early jungler as well, you tend to see him clear very fast and get an early game lead.
But do notice, it does seem like it will be a one-tank comp if we do see Morgana and Graves taken in the first round. Could be very low on the tankiness. They do digress, they go towards the Swain. A flex pick on the red side. We'll see this a lot over the course of MSI.
Yeah, you have to caution against, you know, early showing jungle and support picks both, because as you said, that kind of pigeonholes you and gives away the entire team composition.
Flash Wolves rookie of the split, Muujin. We'll see what he wants to actually grab. Now, of course, he's got the Trundle, but what he's going to draft for his teammates, of course, and Averis have it right now. Definitely has been a strong champion for Betty. Will be locked in. His most played of the year so far. First all-team AD carry as well. Betty has been a strong performer, at least domestically, and we'll see if he can keep this chain going here against Fnatic.
And of course, it's 10 games for Betty on the Varus, none for Rekkles. It's one that he looks over frequently. Ran it in the first game with the Skarner, with the plan of ganking bot lane, trying to hold Rekkles down. Is something many teams have failed to do in Europe. See if that's actually going to be the overall game plan. Here's a return of the Soraka.
Yeah, we saw a little bit of the early points in E for the harassment Soraka last time around. Pairing that with Varus, this is an extremely oppressive lane. If you're talking about keeping down Rekkles and trying to deny CS from him and from the Fnatic bottom lane, then that is a good duo to do it. Caitlyn Morgana, however, is something that's been so popular, you know, in all regions, but especially in North America. You get the binding, can chain really well with Caitlyn traps, if they were able to do that one. In the end, though, they do end up with a Skarner.
And I am very intrigued by how this battle lane match is going to play out, because the front half of Soraka E can do enough damage to one-shot Black Shield, then you're immediately silenced anyway. You can basically erase that ability depending on attribute points and how much MR and how much AP the Morgana gets. So this could be a very hard counter if Betty gets, or Sword Art gets enough stats.
And you can pair that with the Varus, strong laning phase in his own right, and can operate on 1 and 2 item power spikes, something that Caitlyn cannot say for herself, so they would have mismatched power drops.
And Soraka on this big stage, definitely very different to what we were seeing in the regular season with the tank supports. We knew that the range supports were back, but the further thought, the whispers I was hearing was, but Soraka beats all of them in lane. Soraka has a very strong laning phase against range supports. She doesn't have to stand in the front, she can stand in the back as well. Now, because she's going to be poking with the EMAX, she's going to be in the front more often than not. Also notice the silence field can have very interesting interactions when Skarner comes in for a bit.
Sure, absolutely. If he's Black Shield or not, maybe you break that one down. So Ryze, Camille off the table so far. We do not yet have an obvious top lane pick for either side. We've seen Trundle there, of course, we've seen Swain there. Whippo himself has played it already this split. Gnar also dropped off the table. Of course, Fnatic, very likely that Muujin's going to be playing that Trundle here, but waiting to see Flash Wolves 2 solos as the EULCS squad of Fnatic have that flex Swain, and also looking for Rekkles' champion here.
You know what? Whippo and Hanabi want to pick up here. No Ornn games yet for Whippo on the top side, so excited to see if we're going to see a digression there. Feels like Ornn will be the staple top laner of this tournament. Final ban, waiting from the Flash Wolves to the final second. We're actually going to go with the Ezreal.
And Reckless is second most played here, but Jin going to be grabbed right away. Says, thank you very much. Crowd control is going to be what I want. And you look at this team comp, and it looks so similar to what Flash Wolves played a little bit earlier today. A lot of long-ranged, single-target crowd control to find an individual pick and start things off.
Meanwhile, hovering over the Vladimir here as well for themselves. Does a lot of similar things to Swain. Is kind of the AP carry as well as semi-tank. A lot of zone control for their 5-on-5s.
Fun things to watch for. So that's going to be locked in Vladimir, and it's a flex for a few seconds. It won't really matter. Of course, they'll lock in their second champion here as well, but I'm curious to see what matchup they want because they know one of those is going to have Swain either way, and I guess Vladimir can match it, but they got to find their other lane right now as well.
They are kind of pigeonholed between two different options here. If you look at the first round of the draft, they're looking for more the closest target. Then Vladimir, he wants to dive into the back line. They can go either way, and speaking of either way, Oren can, of course, CC an entire team. So they have so many different options here on how to play team fights, but they don't really have a coherent strategy one way or the other. It's kind of a foot in both camps.
Yeah, they definitely have the ability with Pillar and with Varus also bringing some crowd control from the bottom side. To definitely control how that fight is going to play out. But something that has been super hyped up has been Caps on the Zoe. Performed extremely well, especially in playoffs on it. We'll see if he's going to live up to the name. His Yasuo play, while yes, later in the game, there were some mistakes as far as, maybe team communication going for the blast cone, not accounting for possibly being caught out there. His mechanics on the Yasuo were very quick. He has looked very, very smooth today. And that will definitely go a long ways with a champion like Zoe.
Look at the side of Fnatic here. Very strong siege setup also. The Skarner ult comes down. Swain can split the team with the Ravenous Flock, and then they can potentially take down one target. Single target deletion is really what Fnatic have outside of that Swain and the big crowd control.
I'm interested to see the Summoner spell pickups here as well. Sword Art running Barrier, knowing that Soraka so frequently the champion you focus in team fights. He's just that big health battery, and the Barrier will help quite a bit in making sure she does not get focused down. So even if the bind does land, the follow through with Jin does happen, maybe she will survive that gank, and just that survivability you need to not die to those Skarner ganks in the early game. Champions are all, of course, locked in. The final handshake from the coaches, and this is going to be the last game of the day for these two teams. Flash was coming into this one 1-0. Fnatic, though, had fallen earlier to the Chinese squad of Royal Never Give Up, but we'll see if these teams will now tie at 1-1, or if it's going to be a big difference now between these teams, as Flash could be the first 2-0 team from the group stage.
Yeah, Flash had a very dominant victory in their first matchup, and they're going to look to continue it here.
Very interesting to see the cleanse, actually the final choice from Sword Art as well. So didn't go Barrier like we might expect. Has gone for the cleanse, just wants to ensure that he's not the first target picked, but of course, the Skarner potentially, if he can get there, can change things around.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you're against a lane with, Morgana, as well as more forms of CC, Jin, possible pickoffs there, makes things very scary, so he's going to have a little bit of an extra answer. Meanwhile, as we get onto the Rift, there is some early coordination from Fnatic. They all exited out the top side of the base, while Flash Wolves are spreading out in the more standard, watching all the entrances here. So Fnatic look like they want to do a blue side invade to get us started.
They definitely have a nasty level 1. If you do see a Dark Binding into the Swain passive, it's a lot of CC and can also bring someone in. So for now, not spotted.
Ooh. Yeah, what you're gonna want to do as well is not skill up until you actually see someone.
Yep.
So he'll hold on to that.
Broxer will just show himself here. They ended up going for the back, not finding anything on the blue side invade. Just a fan out defensively by Flash Wolves.
Interesting too, I always like going over the starting items and the possible variations here. The boots on Reckless, move speed against Soraka in lane is very, very good because you're talking about the harassment she can put down. They are AoE ground targeted abilities, and having a little bit of extra move speed early on can translate into a lot of health saved by dodging abilities.
And of course, you expect him to step up and also take incidental harass the 4 potions, the other side of the coin there, so sidestepping and sustaining through what can be a very oppressive poke lane with Varus and Soraka.
Kind of interesting right here, the fact that Swain was able to attack over the wall, and now he's like, they have a ward right here. Not that you wouldn't assume it anyway, but they quickly know that, yes, in fact, Mugen is clearing on top of a ward. Not going to hurt too much, but either way, these teams know what's going on. Broxah getting a solo right there on his own red buff, you saw, and without the leash coming through from the Fnatic duo, you kind of can assume that one as well.
Can say from the level 1, though, the pathing of Trundle here is going to be much more predictable because they know where he started. Of course, he's going to take the camp that was previously harassed from him. Trundle, when he has the tempo, when he has the first step, can definitely control a lot. But now, Fnatic can kind of plug and play his expected path. That's probably going to be pretty much a full clear here, the side of Muj.
Yeah, I would think that both junglers looking for early clears, focusing on the camps right now, not wanting to give up too much. They should as well be thinking about the Krugs. You know, the Skarner, that's pretty much going to be the last camp on the radar after everything else is taken to return up to the top side, and they would just want to see if they could grab Scuttle before he has to return to that side of the map. So Mujin is going to be first to that Scuttle. As you're talking about, he can get there early, get a little vision down.
Yeah, wants to make sure he's a little bit safe. Actually spots Broxit with the ward over the wall, knows that that blue's been taken, but now with a greatly aimed pillar, gets the knock up on the Scuttle Crab to break the extra armor and gets an easy kill onto that one. Plus everything else. So vision secured, and it'll be much harder now for Skarner to find the gank. Keep in mind the blast cones don't spawn early anymore, and Skarner can't jump walls. This means there's no gank really available for the next 45 seconds in that bot lane.
And given the texture of the bot lane, how much poke is available for Betty and Sword Art, spotting the enemy Skarner, seeing go top side, and getting Scuttle control. Bot side says, hey, Varus and Soraka, you keep pushing. You're under basically no implied threat at all. So it allows the bot lane to do exactly what it was selected for. So it ends up being kind of like a successful gank, pulling off that vision.
Yeah, meanwhile, Skarner doesn't have a lot of options as far as early diving and Ornn. Sometimes you'll get a little cautious and you'll be like, oh, there's a giant minion wave pushing super early. It would be terrible for X top laner to get dove and lose out some of that experience. But the Swain plus Skarner, not a lot of kill threat there, even under a push turret. So Hanabi able to clear out a decent amount of those just fine.
The gold standard this game for where Fnatic want to get to after the early laning phase is completed is to control the bot lane river, put down control vision, and their pick presence is insane. From range, from melee range, from the Skarner. Basically everyone, barring the Swain, is going to be involved in picks and controlling objectives. So far, though, they haven't got there. And that's why we're watching very closely as Skarner's in lane.
Yeah. Oh, looking for the Predator play as well, but they're not going to find that route, and looks like there's not going to be a chance to find anybody as well. So attempt gank came through. Mujin was around just in case they needed safety, and that will not come through. That was try number one from Broxah. That was his first Predator. Yeah,
that was interesting because I thought Broxah was going to go grab the Krugs. As soon as he was spotted low health by the Gromp, he was going to give up Gromp instead. And go grab Krugs, but he went for the boot buy for that Predator attempt down bottom, knowing that there was a high probability Mujin was going to be stealing the Gromp, and Mujin actually waits a little while and stays around that bot side for quite a long time. So there's no real opening for them there.
I just feel there's a bit of time pressure on Fnatic. He might not necessarily take that as a big point this game, but I look at what Fnatic are trying to do. You know, eventually, Banner of Command is going to frustrate Weepo on the Swain in top side. If they want to make the plays, if they want to control an area of the map, the best time to do that is when they can push around the bot side with a couple of early items and try to take control. That's why they try the lane gank. If they can wrestle control of bot side river, it's not a roaming Talia that's the threat. It's just the fact that Drakes will be almost incontestable for Flash Wars as the game goes on.
Well, then Fnatic, if they can get themselves to start stacking, that'll be a great late game power for them. The early Ocean, of course, amazing for the beginning laning phase, and we're still early into this one. You can see, yeah, long time since he's put out the Jhin. I looked at the stats, I was like, I don't think he's played that one this year, and math checks out, he hasn't, but clearly thought it was the right choice for this game, and Reckless looking for early mid-game aggressive champions.
Yeah, it's interesting because looking into Fnatic, talking about how they played so much of this season, it was Reckless and Caps putting out the majority of the damage for the team, the highest percentages of those 2 carry damage dealt for their team, of mid laner and 80 carries for any of the teams attending, and they are really the focus as far as funneling all of the gold into these 2 guys. It has been kind of a setup of 3 semi-support champions with the 2 main carries there, and they're trying to get them off to a good start.
Well, eventually those ganks will come through. Predator about to be back up here for Broxah, so we'll see if he can find that second attempt at the gank. Right now they're going for the Scuttle Crab control. Hylissang spotted out, and Mujin can drop the ward unless Caps can sleep him. Will not. Whatever, it's just a trinket. It'll drop off eventually, but yeah, some knowledge known that a bottom river roam can happen. In fact, Broxah now spotted as well, so a lot of information on both sides here.
Starting to see Morgana try to take over this river. Skarner's still level 5, so the threat there a little bit lower. Coming to your point, Kobe, you can definitely tell that the damage burden is going to be a lot more shared than some of those huge Tristana hard carries we saw from Reckless very recently. In the mid lane, kind of short the pillar there a little bit.
especially with Reckless, even on Jhin, still focusing attack speed. It's funny that people would always bring up, oh, Reckless, he buys early attack speed more than any other AD carry almost. But usually they're on, you know, the champions that will.
He's playing Varus with Kennen, you know.
Exactly. Here, even on Jhin, it's kind of translating into a movement speed focus rather than the attack speed focus that we usually see.
Yeah, it seems to be more and more the more common Jhin build. It's actually what Double went for as well, with Swift using rapid fire cannon. Just the idea that you will get that fourth shot off and then can kite in or out afterwards very easily.
Team Muujin invade here. We'll find Broxah shortly. When it comes to those builds, Jhin lost, you know, building as many long swords as possible, building lethality, having very early power spikes, SN3 for a huge delay build. This provides a bit of early power. Speaking of early power, Muujin's showing himself.
Ooh, not quite going to land the Empowered E there, so a pretty easy walk away for Zoe. No problem with that. Bailiff Gold still very close between these two squads as the TPs come back in. So now there's information known that Whipple can no longer join the bot side of the fight anymore, and Flash Wolves have the chance at spell booking Hanabi up to a teleport and playing for a 5v4 bot lane. And keep in mind, they've got plenty of hard engage if an Ornn comes down with a frontal pillar. That's a great team fight. Oh, Flash not in range. Unlucky. Muujin says not even close in all chat and walks away with it.
Yeah, one of the frustrations of this Carter right there.
Yep.
Flash is just close, but not close enough. And Muujin able to walk right out. W down, a little bit of extra move speed, and now they can actually turn this around. Even though there's vision here from Fnatic, the rotation forces them off of this turret, denies Reckless a little bit of CS.
See, the enemy vision is really nice, long range. Stun comes through there, the trouble bubble.
A bit of damage with Maple, but he trades it back without too many issues. So we still have this very tied game state right here. Even the CS numbers are within 10 pretty much everywhere on the map. So not a lot of major gains yet.
Yeah, even though we're seeing most skills missing right now and nothing really coming to a confrontation, Skarner having the Predator use there and the Flash both used means there's a huge amount of time where Fnatic have way less options than before, because most of it would revolve around a Skarner hard force. That is not going to be on the table, so Flash Wolves have basically removed quite a lot of threat for in the next couple of minutes here for them to really work with.
And it was a bot side focus implied by the draft. Vladimir, Orange, super safe, unlikely to have enough damage to take them down. So those being down makes that basically impossible. Nice push being started by the Swain top side, but it's going to probably be answered by something here on the bot side.
Right now, Hanabi very detained, and now look at those chains of roots. The ult's coming across as well. Ignite cleansed away, and Sword not going to be able to run out for a little bit of this one. A stun on the front lines. Hillside now force a flash back out. The shots come through, but looks like Betty's going to be okay. Now, the next attempt here as the TP comes around cannot be matched. Hanabi, it doesn't even get bound anyway, but will not find the hard engagement. Hillsong very much alone. Flashless knocked up. First blood comes through to Betty. The bot lane Kira gets 400 extra gold in this turret now under fire. Looks like it'll drop faster than Whipple can handle the top lane.
Still a really clean setup around these top lane. As these bot lane dies, we saw this many years ago. It's been a common strategy. They gave up the top side. They execute perfectly. It's not quite the Taliyah draft, but it still gets the bot lane turret first.
Yeah, and I think that Flash Wolves were very happy to see that bottom lane aggression come out from Fnatic at this time. Because if you're watching the mini-map, Whipple was zoning Hanabi off of this turret. He had a double stacked minion wave there, and because Broxah had been seen up on this side, Hanabi was playing very carefully. He had backed way off, and so they were already seeding top side pressure. Then Fnatic's bottom side, goes super aggressive. Hillsong going in there for the Morgana ult. That kind of opened up a golden opportunity for Flash Wolves, and they capitalized.
Okay, pulls it anyway. He wasn't going to get bound, but I guess he wanted the move speed to get out, and now as the Herald gets summoned to the mid lane.
Broxah instant cast there on the Rift Arrow. That's interesting, but it will draw everyone mid-side.
Oh, flashes come in. Broxah gets the suppression and gets knocked up regardless, and Muujin gets himself that kill 2-0 in that scoreline. Of course, first circle helping as well. Flash rolls up in money.
Yeah, and the Rift Arrow goes completely to waste. Not going to get any damage off on the turret. Flash Wolves put a stop to that one very quickly.
Hard to say if that was intentional or not. You can definitely make some mistakes with that Rift Arrow.
Yeah, whenever you see it happen so quickly after taking it, you have to think about, was he trying to activate his trinket or not? But regardless of the case, Flash Wolves with a couple of small victories for themselves back to back.
And it's just following the logic. We'll first talk about this play in the bot lane. Remember, as you say, Whippo has control of topside. Oran's already moved back. When the moment they commit here, there's a teleport disadvantage. There is a variable they can't take advantage of. It takes a long time for Orin to commit, but when they see Hylissang or Reckless, they make the call, Hanabi comes in, and there's setups for success in this particular case.
Yeah, even though it was a good opportunity there, seemingly if you're just looking at the bottom lane for Fnatic, and a lot of damage was dealt, Hylissang getting to that point and taking a lot of DPS on the way out, looking for that kill, opened up the opportunity there for Flash Wolves. So they're able to get the kill, they get the turret as well.
And if you ask me what happens as the game goes on, where the scaling is at, the game will eventually reach a point where both Caps and Reckless will have to deal with a Vladimir who will find access to the backline. Ghost, Flash, Shirelius, all the other movement abilities. Neither of these champions are particularly mobile. You will eventually take huge AoE damage, and in the meantime, what are you achieving with Skarner, Swain, and Morgana? A bit of CC, a bit of damage, but you do worry that maybe Mabel can solo decide this game if he piles on 3 or 4 items on Vlad.
Yeah, there's a lot of very important single items even that are completed right now for Flash Wolves, with Rageblade just getting completed for Varus. You know, that's a huge spike for him, and the Shirelias that you mentioned for Vladimir, keeping him very mobile, and Maple does have his flash ready as well.
Even Abyssal Mask, the combined cost is in inventory for Hanabi. That's a big power spike. Get in the front line, just amp your whole team's damage at that point. There's actually a meaningful magic damage footprint on every single champion, even the Trundle, a little bit of something there.
So Fnatic, they're going to have to look to try and utilize the pick potential they have with this comp. It's actually insane how much possibilities they have of picking someone off. Sleepy Trouble Bubbles, Morgana Bindings, Jhin follow-up. Broxa does have his flash and his Predator ready as well with the Skarner. So all of these tools are just ready in the kit for Fnatic, you know, to try and pick someone off. They're doing their work with the control wards at the moment and pushing mid to try and find an opening.
I want to find an excuse for the enemy to walk up. Usually warding is the case. Mujin only has a bit of armor. He's very, very squishy. He will go down to full Trouble Bubble. Combination with any other form of damage. Soraka is a ranged support. If she's trying to ward also, that will lead to her doom. So that's probably where Fnatic can find something, but if you bring friends, much harder to pull off those picks.
Yeah, it's super hard because Flash Wolves, they have the giant Ornn ultimate. When you're talking to Champ Select about it, sweeping most of the screen with CC, that combined with a Soraka global heal buys time for everyone, you know, to group up and protect their friends.
All right, into the mid lane, looks like the next play is all 5 are there. Drowsy potentially there onto Trundle, as yet Jhin is too far away to do much of anything. Reckless just going to split push down to the side of the map, but this siege has not really purchased any turret damage yet. Pretty good defense out of Fnatic here. Another Drowsy comes through and wants to ult in. Yep, okay, bit of damage there, but pulled back a couple of roots. He's just still way too tanky. Has that upgraded magic now for Hanabi, and actually will be a re-engage as they can see that Reckless is still in that bottom lane, but a single knockup means nothing. Even Black Shield looks like it wasn't even used.
That was really sloppy, actually. Hanabi and Betty both throwing out CC ultimates, both of them whiffing, so that actually allows Fnatic to walk up, even though Jhin never rotated from bot side. Reckless been able to close some of the CS lead here, just remaining in lane. Fnatic were never going to truly commit. They did not have their AD carry. Didn't want to walk through an unwatered river to even throw in the ultimate at any point in that, so through all of it. Now Flash Wolves have less tools in the game. Well, quieten down even further for a few minutes.
Yeah, definitely we're going to have to keep track of the pockets of vision here because, again, Fnatic, their first step in trying to utilize a lot of the tools that they've drafted here is, you know, creating these pockets of fog of war, of darkness, where Flash Wolves have to be so wary when they're transitioning between lanes to try and create those rotations.
Caps just keeps trying to find those cheeky plays over the wall. You can see control wards are in there. That top brush completely pushed out. You can't put vision in there because they have one. Reckless sweeping down this bottom side as well. So lots of places that Caps can play from. You're seeing the attempts constantly throwing those E's over the wall. Maybe they can find that opening pick as they maybe play around that small cooldown where they aren't the ultimates available yet for Flash Wolves. The big team fight R buttons, but have not found purchase.
And Fnatic have 5 control wards on the map, but unfortunately right now they don't dictate anything. Usually if you have 3 control wards somewhere, it gives you a huge lead and the enemy has to go for the is the Garen in the bush situation of do I face check it or do I not? Right now 3 control wards at top, there's nothing to play around on top side. In the bot side, they're very defensive, they set up for a pick, but no one's walking up. So right now, 5 control wards give them some information, but don't actually allow them to push forward towards their win condition of picking some.
Yeah, they've got this Swain with a huge CS lead here on Whippo, and they want to try and use that side lane pressure to create, you know, the first step in the chain of action here. but they've also sent Reckless down to split pushing again. This is something we saw a lot from them, earlier in the season, and then Caps started to play split push more and more, but Reckless now moving up with the extra speed, and Maple taking quite a lot of damage.
And knows he's still safe, has a W available, and has it to run away when he needs to on this one. And Sanabi, once again, roams back down without an outer turret to keep alive. He's got a little bit of space to play with as Whippo push from the top lane. Will not find that team fight, though. We'll have to go back to grab his wave.
I must admit, I'm focused on what he doesn't have, which is a banner of command. Whippo actually has more lane control than I'd expect around 17 to 20 minutes, because he's not being forced to move places. He's got a team fight item instead, and that team fight might come now.
Comes the ulti across, but Hillsong able to easily get rid of that knockup. Now ulting to disengage from Mugen, does so pretty cleanly, and out the nice chunk on the backside. Sword Art ult's going to help far back up, but that is wished down. It's not a bad cooldown to miss, as several ults now missing on the one side, pushing more and more for the turret. A drowsy champion as well, can't defend much, big chunks come out, but now a possible re-engage out of Maple. Ult comes in for Whippo, has to flash away himself, though was afraid of the fact that Betty had already landed the ultimate onto him, and they will clear the minion wave away. Hellfire's a bit low on the Fnatic side, to be honest, as this Drake still has not been taken, means no extra regen. Front lines towards Betty, pulls him in, more CC across, has to cleanse to get out, he's going to be okay, but now the potential re-engage out of Maple, no Whippo chases away, nice three-man knockup, could that be the fight now for Flash Wolves? Pulled right back in, the damage, the Skarner, the bind, the kill, and Cass gets one on the board for Fnatic. Now going back for Maple, has a convenient cannon to heal off him, put the flash in, looking for a bit of the damage, the shots won't quite land, the heals coming through for Sword Art, and there will not yet be the kills. Another route towards Mugen, flashes, stays alive, now the forward momentum for Cass, but can't quite get that one either. Betty gets the snipe and makes it a 1-for-1. That said, this turret still taking damage.
And Betty's the only one there trying to clear out the minion wave. Sword Art hanging around, 50 HP left on Soraka. He gave all of his health away to try and sustain through that fight.
And you could just see Maple so frustrated, waiting for his moment to use the Hemo Plague. 40 seconds of damage had gone down. Just incidentally, he looked for his moment because the outer mid lane turret is still up. The dive of the backline doesn't work as cleanly, and there was just blinking health bars on 8 members of both teams.
Yeah, I saw a lot of frustration on both sides for that entire team fight. That was almost a minute-long team fight. If you started at the very beginning of the skirmish here, this was the first big thing where, we chunk out Sword Art. The Ornn ultimate was already used. So many cooldowns were used early in this 5-on-5 without people dropping, that then it opened up a really big opportunity. Here's the last one. Whippo does, use his ultimate as well as the flash to get out here, and that's why for the re-engage, where the Trundle Pillar came in, as well as the knock-up opportunity off of that newly created terrain, that's why Flash Wolves went for this kind of counter with the secondary engage.
But eventually you reach a critical point on Vladimir where you can fully commit, get in the backline, that Tides of Blood is hitting on multiple members. Caps just dead out of the replay.
Bound out, Benny put the ultimate in and got the champion to grab, and there's no cleanse yet on that Summoner Spellbook for Caps, and that's going to be, look at this, everyone in the mid lane knocking that one down, will not be answered. 2-1 in turrets for Flash Wolves.
Yeah, that replay was going to be so long. It started after the teamfight had already started, and we didn't even get to finish it because more action had already occurred.
But as more gold is loaded into the game, I'm not talking about necessarily a gold lead, but when this reaches that 50,000 game, or there's 2,000 or 3,000 one way or the other, that's when Vladimir could truly commit. Now there's no outer mid lane turret either. The next fight with Ghost Flash up from Vladimir, we're going to see some fireworks.
And it's funny too, because Swain has had such a big CS lead that we thought I was going to see similar things from them. They're very similar champions and they play very similar roles, but with these big cooldowns now off the table and the flashes being timed here, we'll see if Flash Wolves now with this turret advantage can actually take over more of the map because they've been pushing up their ward line and it should allow them to continue controlling.
The disconnect I see though is that Jhin is so different to Varus when someone like Swain and Vladimir are creating space. Consistent damage, high attack speed, you can understand what Varus will be doing. The Jhin might get a bit more time for setup, but it's not quite the same profit from Swain controlling space and also just purely in damage. Vladimir will out-damage Swain in an AoE team fight any day.
Now they do have different priorities on these champions. Looks like it's Fnatic being much more pick-focused with regards to what they went for, and so you're right, those 5-on-5s might look a bit different for them. Right now the gold only 1,700 apart, but Flash Wolves are in lead on this one.
Also have a bit of a vision lead as well.
Also, in the last, for the entire game, Swain has done 40 more damage than Vladimir, I believe was that total.
To be fair, he got to fight a melee champion in lane, so those numbers are getting hiked up quite a lot based on the laning phase. If you cut off the first 10 minutes, I bet you it's probably a little bit better for Maple.
You'd be a brave man to assume that will continue for the rest of the game, Kobe.
Here we go, though. Baron control being set up by the Flash Wolves. They're playing off their control wards, moving through the red buff, and clearing out Fnatic's options.
Fnatic are cowering fear a little bit. The control wards they had to control the river are gone. The base check targets aren't really there. How will they generate this pick, barring a moment of brilliance from Caps? As Flash have already started the Baron.
2 people on it, and they're in completely clean fog of war. Sword out there to heal if they need, but with Fnatic running near, they're going to be able to check that one. Swain W says, okay, they were hitting it back to full health. Not a problem here, but it needs to remind them that they gotta fight for that vision control. They can't constantly check with long cooldown spells like that. At a certain point, the sneak can come through with a Rageblade champion like Varus.
Yeah, currently it's going to take them quite a while to burn through it. So Fnatic are being fairly conservative with using cooldowns to check.
And with Pillar and Ornn Ultimate, your ability to turn off Baron and tank it is insane. So they're happy to start it a couple of times. You look at Varus' items, doesn't actually have a lot of damage, gone for utility and defensive choices instead. They're basically, if you're Fnatic, you should look at those items and say, is Betty actually has to escape from the Baron, just assassinating him. This build from Betty says, we're only about the turn, we're not going to commit to finishing it, and that allows Fnatic a bit more breathing room to allow them to start Baron and not fully engage.
And that's a large chunk of health. Just that chunk is going to allow Fnatic to move in and clear out like 4 control wards here from Flash Wolves, regain so much vision around this Baron.
It's an important power spike for Caps right now as well. Death Cap in the inventory, 2 items now in for Reckless as well with the Essence Reaver. You saw that the pieces of items Betty went for, the QSS for safety, the Executioner's Calling because there's a Swain on the enemy team, and it delays the actual spiking in. Rageblade multiplies all of your other stats, and there are not any other stats to multiply yet. He's just pushing towards the Rapid Fire Cannon or Shiv.
And even though people are embracing how many damn items supports him pick up, unfortunately for the poor Soraka here, the Unicorn only has a QSS and really working on that first completed item to go from there.
That's pretty crazy too, because of course we started with Cleanse there. We switched out of the barrier at the very end of Champs. Like I know I need to be able to survive Ignites and survive Binds, and now he's got to survive Skarner as well and make sure that Soraka is not the first casualty.
And honestly, now you say maybe Sword Art never dies because Fnatic don't have good backline access and he has 2 forms of Cleanse. How will he actually die unless all his friends are down at the same time?
Well, that's what he's thinking with the item purchase there. Control Ward is dropped over the backside here. As you can tell, Fnatic are using everything they have to check once again. If you look down again at the mini-map, though, they sent Whippo down to the bottom side. He pushes the wave into bottom turret first, then comes up to join. Vladimir pushing on top side, though, for Flash Wolves, hoping to create the opposite here for them. And he's flanking around now. Vladimir pings behind the enemy team.
Enemy spotted.
I'm going to try to collapse onto him. There's the pop in as well. Righteous Glory coming in, and Maple's going to run right across the team, try to get away. Flash to make sure, and Whippo now going to look for that route. He's going to find Soraka, gets the pull and goes to the back lane, can't get the kill, and has to pop his Hourglass, the Zonias, but on the front line is the rest of the team. Maple gets that first kill, 5-1 on the scoreboard, but a trade does come through courtesy of Broxa's ultimate. Not quite going to find an opponent, but pushing in his Caps, gets another flash for himself. Thanks to his W, gets the auto attack in the back line, and he will get Sword Art. You cannot cleanse auto attacks. Blinding it as well. It's a 4v3 team, but Betty across the wall can still exert some threat. The flash in for more. Look at his Maple, can't get the attacks, but does survive it now. Almost puts him to sleep, but they're going to walk away. Still +1 for Fnatic. They do have map control.
All the threat was down, guys. They were able to keep going. Caps no longer had to respect any sort of backline threat, and there were low health members, and with his newly bought Death Cap, he saw triple and quadra in his future.
Yeah, they were happy to take that trade, and Caps finds his way into the backline, taking down Sword Out. There's your backline access. They've got the little trickster. Here we go, though. Maple was looking for a flank, but as you said, spotted out, and Fnatic immediately turn on him, forcing out some cooldown.
And he uses everything defensively. He's not trying to maximize damage at all. The Ornn ultimate is down. And then Cap says, actually all the threat is gone. You do notice that enemy in the backline occupies a lot of time, but the ults are down. The threat is gone from Flash Wolves, and that's the invitation for Fnatic to move forward.
Yeah, even though it was a 1-for-1 trade in deaths there, before he went down, Whippo did so much damage to Sword Art, and that is the one that's not going to be able to heal herself back up. So Caps was able to capitalize.
Nice little chunk on a Betty. Q is pretty strong from a Death Cap. Zoe, Sword Shoe's now done as well. I want to see if he goes for even more flat pen to really punish that backline if the skill traps do land.
I look at teamfight execution and say, I think Flash Wolves is easier to execute because you can't stop Vladimir getting somewhere. But 1 time, 2 time, they haven't maximized Maple's ability to ravage this backline. A 3rd time comes down, a Baron goes down for Fnatic, maybe it doesn't matter.
And even though Flash Wolves are the ones with the control wards all over Baron here, Fnatic are the ones that prep the side wave first. They have top already pushing, and Whippo pushed bottom lane and then walked all the way up.
Here we go again, number 3.
Attempt to the play, and they're going to find themselves as Skarner. Black Shield's on, doesn't mean much. Finally able to flash away as the E times out. Legion in the side lane getting some hits now from Whippo, but now they're looking for the re-engage. Jin ult is in to send the squad across. All 4 hits going to be in there, but Hanabi tanky enough on the front line. And Sorda's healthy to put a couple of heals in.
So whenever we have these 5-on-5 skirmishes where no one goes down, Fnatic, because they did their homework and pushed both sides first, they're the ones that got the advantage out of there. And now they're pushing on the mid lane turret, getting some damage down.
Reckless reloads, but not able to put another auto attack in. Drowsy Bubble not quite going to find an opponent, but they do get a pull in. Again, Hanabi very tanky, though hard to push down that champion. Still puts him down to about 1/3, and hey, look how good those heals are. They just keep throwing in damage, and it gets erased by the fact that Soraka exists.
And a lot of this, too, is because Vladimir forced over to the top side, cleared out the double minion wave. Fnatic got a decent amount of damage done on this mid turret, and they're not giving up.
And there's also the build. Remember the Banner of Command on? We predicted, we hypothesized, we basically saw. Never materialized. He went Warmox. He's gone full on for team fight here. Usually it's Catalyst into Banner of Command, into dictating to either Caps or Bwipo, whoever is in that top side. Instead, he's gone full team fight, and while he can tank Baron and then Warmox to full health, while he has a damage amp coming through from his items here, he doesn't have the ability to control the sideways. And like you say, Fnatic have just played them better, but they've kind of got an invitation and they've RSVP'd from Flash Wolves not taking Banner of Command.
Side lanes may continue to play dividends here for Fnatic, who have been down in turrets, down in kills, and yet the gold is equal. The farm's so good. Flame Horizon now for Swain up in that top side, and leads almost everywhere except that mid lane.
Yeah, at this stage in the game where you start trading minion waves with split pushing champions rather than having the tank down there, it's not really fair anymore. You can see Vladimir 293 CS as well.
He's got a pretty sweet hat there as well, Kobe. He's ready to go.
But again, Whippo first down to the side lane. Meanwhile, there are 5 members of Flash Wolves all in mid lane looking to force.
They found the root. Hillsong not an easy exit, but this one is going to get chopped down, but he gets a kill in the second in the back line. Death Cap. Vladimir does so much damage.
And Flash Wolves 5 men in mid finally pays off. They are able to force. They get 2 kills, and they're going to force onto Baron now. Whippo is still damaging the turret, but he could teleport for Fnatic.
And that's on Vladimir, baby. It's about the execution. Enough times you'll get it. They get it this time, but do they get the Baron?
No blast cone, no flash for Broxa. The steals will be difficult, but Whippo still trying to look for the fight in the back line. He's going to find Mabel. Nice heal back to full HP, though. And Benny in the middle of the fight. Can they trap down Swain? Big heal comes across. Mugen's still up there, unstoppable. As Benny gets yet another kill, and Broxa does not have a way over this wall. He cannot smite this. It's all on Caps, and they delay till the Q lands. Easy burst. They're going to get it, and it was never in range of anything. A clean enough secure for Flash Wolves.
Huge swing here for Flash Wolves. They're rewarded so heavily for the 2 kills in mid lane. Now with Baron, see how many turrets they can push down.
Yeah, this is a huge move for them. They built everything in terms of build path for team fights for that big Orin ultimate. 1, 2, 3 whiff, but you don't have to commit. It's why Orin is so strong. His engage range is massive. Eventually, you're going to strike gold, and this is certainly the big strike for Flash Wolves.
Exactly. Also, the Varus ultimate there from Betty. He moves in. Betty now with 5 kills just funded a lot of extra damage for Flash Wolves. Before it was, all the CS had been funneled onto Maple and the Vladimir carrying here, but let's take another look as they do teleport into Baron, and Whippo tries to stall them out.
Now, he does have Zonias through this. His silence was used earlier. Never found a spot, just ends up not being able to use the zones. Would have bought a bit more time. Would it have changed things? Probably not. See the face of Reckless. He's frustrated, but you remember where we started. Kobe, we said eventually it felt like there was a timing where perhaps if the picks hadn't come, Flash Wolves were just overwhelmed. I think the timing has been hit.
Yeah, definitely agreed there. Now they've got Baroned up siege minions here, pushing on the bottom side. There is a possibility, you know, the Ocean Drake is there for the taking afterwards if Fnatic are able to wave clear too much and push them off, but they've already sent Sword Art back to the minion wave to try and speed it up with the Baron buff, so it will arrive for round number 2. Oh, Betty!
Oh, the shot comes in. Huge now on this one. 5v4. Fnatic must get a lot, but no never move just yet. The silence field is up there. Doesn't get a whole ton just yet. Or an ult maybe to disengage. No, just for the slow to run away. And that is going to build enough space, even without the knockup, that they get away with only losing 1.
What a kick to the gut here for Flash Wolves, though. They just made such a big move in this game. Had Baron sieging up, but Betty on the front lines gets assassinated there, and Caps was able to finish it off. Really good, again, Zoe play from him to find the priority targets and get those timely kills.
We know that a siege is more than just 5 people rocking up to a turret and trying to right-click it down. You also need to be able to play your side waves. They've still refused to do that. Still no banner of command. Still the minions were pushing in top side while they made that play. They're allowing themselves for one mistake to just halt a Baron power play. One person dies because they all committed everything to the 5v5. The Baron power play basically is nil.
Yeah. Look at the pickoff right there. Wiblow's able to start it off.
Beautifully done by Caps.
Oh, everything hits right there. And that's all they needed to take out so much of the advantage that Flash Wolves have just earned.
Of course, Maple still scaling. Got to stop watching the inventory now, so those backline dives can be even less scary. Could still, of course, be that major carry for this one. Only 500 gold separates these teams. It's a nice little reset for Fnatic, though. You thought with them losing Baron and 3 kills, they might have lost the entire map, but it's only 3 turrets to 2. This is still a lot of game left to play. Difficult to pilot, though their comp may be. As Baron times out, looks like very little will be killed.
Yeah, basically a negative Baron buff power play. Maybe we'll get the official confirmation, but the gold lead is nil between these two teams. If Flash Wolves insists on playing one lane, they make any further mistakes, this game could still swing the way of Fnatic.
Just waiting for the openings here. Do want to point out, by the way, for those who have not been tracking Varus a lot, has a new active on the W, which makes not only maxing Q very good, but his on-hit build has gone away, so he's up to Infinity Edge of the standard scaling. Big sniping the champion, and now finding the big knockup. Maple is there. Look at the low health bars. Reckless will just pop. No, he's got 50 health and he stays alive. Looking out for the re-engage, and the Zonia's popped the knockup there. Proxy forced to run, but where can Swain go? Nowhere at all. 9-4 in kills. Now a great pickup for Flash Wolves.
Huge initiation there, and the combo once again, even though the backline doesn't die and Reckless is chunked out to under 100 HP, it opened up the opportunity to then take down the front line.
We saw so much Vladimir Kobe in the planes, and you see why. He's basically like a tank getting in the backline and an AoE threat. There's nothing that can peel him away. Doesn't matter if you have a Morgana. Pop goes the Weepo, and pop goes Fnatic.
And that's why you funnel your CS onto the Vladimir, because your Ornn is only there for the ultimate to start this off. If he's able to get a good Ornn ultimate to open up the opportunity for Vladimir to deal the damage, that's where Flash Wolves are again able to take it.
We just saw a game where Prey was very clearly the MVP of the team. Everyone's building around him. Now it's a mid laner. Now it's Maple, someone who has really stepped up in 2018 after kind of languishing in 2017 compared to his former glory. He's set up for success for Fnatic. Nice straight line rotation through the mid lane. Gonna get 2 turrets.
Really nice out of them, and now it's a gold lead for Fnatic for the first time in a while. In front of their home crowd here, Fnatic hoping to not drop to 0-2 at the start of the day, and Flash was one of their close competitors in this group stage. You got to make top 4 to make it to the knockouts, and yeah, that's 30 gold after the fact that Baron is worth, 1,300 in the first place.
Not a good look, but they're kind of just eventually brute forcing their way through with their team comp. So they are playing to their team comp on the basis of level, their 5v5 wins.
Yeah, that stat just really hits home what we were talking about, how big of a mistake that was from Betty getting picked off right when they're about to have the siege come together on the bottom side. And this is something that people were discussing with Flash Wolves, where they came into this tournament, they take down Gambit very quickly. And then in the first game, they're also able to take down Evos very quickly off of some, very powerful early game and good snowballing. But now here up against Fnatic, the mistakes are punished. If the openings are there, Fnatic are very quick to jump on them.
You talked earlier, probably, Smithy, about the ease of executing composition. I want to point out Reckless, who has scaled up very beautifully here, never stopping by for an executioner, stopping by for a QSS. He's almost at 100% crit gen right now, which is 1,000 damage crits frequently, which means he can teamfight very well, and just walking up an auto-wing ends up being really powerful.
On that simple level, when he has the breathing room to sit there and be, all right, it's time to open up my ult, gonna hit all my bolts, got great skill shot accuracy, yes. But Maple is the one starting and ending fights, and in that time, you see Reckless kind of flash heal, maybe auto-attack one person. He can never actually get a full rotation that the damage would imply.
And so you think the first thing on Fnatic's minds is going to be ward our flanks. If we get flanked one more time by Vladimir, we're toast. And while Ornn is able to basically initiate for Vladimir a screen away. So the big point of strategy is trying to keep track of Maple, of the Vladimir, so he's not able to have that easy access to your backline.
Yeah, and you can see Fnatic trying to build around that backline safety. You've got the Knight's Vow as well as the Locket on Broxer right here. Hylissang's, of course, got maxed Black Shield. He maxed that before Dark Binding, even hoping they can give enough stats to Reckless that he won't get one shot by Maple.
And as many, mistakes as Flash Wolves has made, they've also made so many good plays and those good initiations to get them to this point where they have advantage over Baron. They've again got the control ward set up, and they're trying to force Fnatic to come to them.
And they're forcing this Baron pretty nicely. Mugen still decent health bar onto him. 6,500 left on this Baron. Broxer does not have flash.
Is he even going to get there?
He has to get over the wall. He can't do it. 400 health. And this fight comes through. Mugen secures rookie of the split for Flash Wolves. The second Baron now as the re-engage comes across. A flash out of caps. 5-on-5 still here. Whippo in the front lines, but not doing much of damage. Sounds has a flash away. Black Shield on as well. And out he goes as Mugen still holds onto the front line. The root, the pullback. They're going to find a little bit of something, but not yet the team fight. Now the Trauma Pillar is up. They're looking now as Swain pops the ulti. Whippo could be running out of health down to 1,000. Can they burn him down? And they will. Betty gets the kill, as well as a solo in the mid lane as Maple takes out his opposite member with 3 left. Now Fnatic must run as Flash Wolves now have all the control they could want. The Pillar does not care about Black Shield. Betty finds a snipe. 3 for 0 plus Baron.
Another great force from Flash Wolves. They have the advantage. They're just going to overpower you, and they run straight through Fnatic. This Baron buff is going to be worth way more than 30 gold.
Absolutely. They wait for their spots. Maple just uses everything on one person. Caps down, Fnatic down from his perspective, and maybe the game just ends in this passage.
You got a lot of time to work with. 15 seconds on Caps' respawn, even more on the rest of the dead members here. 5-on-2 with the Baron. Those are pretty good odds for Flash Wolves, looking to make it that 2-0 run and knock up onto the back line. They might get this kill. The root is in, and they will drop that one. An unstoppable Maple 5-0-3. Back on form in 2018, looking pretty damn good. But as the respawns come in, it looks like it'll be Flash Wolves spending a little bit less time inside the base. Mugen puts up the pillar, one more shot, and yes, Caps finds one. Now the re-engage. Betty wants it, he gets it. The knockup not going to be there. Actually, Maple steals the kill away, scumbag as he might be, but the shots come in. Reckless has so much damage. The shot comes in, he gets the crit, rolls the dice, and it comes up nice. And that's going to be one as Whippo falls off a double kill. Now Hylissang forced to run, finds the stun, but Zonius keeps Maple safe, and Power Q will time out.
Guys, end the game.
Flashing in for the bind, going back to the minion line. There comes the turrets, and Hylissang just not the most threatening Morgana anymore. Flash Wolves will end the game. The 2-0 run. Flash Wolves on form.
Flash Wolves going 2-0 on the first day is not something many people would have predicted. This game, they definitely gave a couple of opportunities for that to come back. I think the drop from Fnatic could have worked, but like we said, timings. We checked our watches, it read 30 minutes. I saw a nice hat on Vladimir, and I feared for the lives of Fnatic.
Yeah, we kept looking for the pickoffs, but they weren't there.
Nope.
Meanwhile, Flash Wolves, great execution as far as the combination of Ornn ultimates to start it out with Vladimir flanks. Maple had a huge game for himself, and congratulations, well-deserved, undefeated here for Flash Wolves.
Do want to give some credit to Whippo. He did manage to keep up with Vladimir's damage for what it's worth, so that bet, Kobe, biggest brain on this desk, but the target selection was just so good. The 26,000 damage that Vladimir dealt was better than the 26,000 damage that Swain dealt. He got onto the back line. He one-shot the Zoe in the last team fight. He one-shot Reckless the one before that one, and the one before that one. And the fact that he was able to get that target selection stopped the team fights before they even started.
Not necessarily a color of Maple we saw in 2017. He loses his best mate Karsa and is still able to make it work largely solo as the game went on. It took a time to get his eye in. The first 3, they didn't work, but eventually the profit was huge.
I think that's a really good point to bring up here. A lot of eyes are going to be on the new guys for this Flash Wolves team because everyone's used to seeing them at international events and thinking Maple plus Karsa.
Yeah.
What a great jungle mid, synergy that they have going. But, we had good utility from Ornn from the top side, definitely serviceable, and they didn't need to funnel any extra money, as we were saying, into him. He just had to hit those Ornn ultimates. He did that. Also, no criticisms there from Mugen. Nicely played Trundle for him on the front lines as far as controlling for the majority of the game.
Yeah, totally agree. It's a great 2-threat team right here on Flash Wolves, honestly. The mid lane and AD carry both with great scorelines. To combine 16, 1, and 8 out of the backline damage threats. Beautiful stuff out of them. But now to get more on that game, let's send it down to the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, Freak. A 2-0 day one out of the Flash Wolves while knocking Fnatic down to an 0-2 start to their MSI tournament.
Dash, I was promised this home field advantage thing that was supposed to give my team some wins. Where is it?
Whoa. It's an international event. When was Europe's international, like, home field advantage ever international?
That's true. That's very true. It doesn't-
2015 was, man. They had 2 teams in the semis.
That's true.
Good point.
We don't, okay,
That was
LPL,
in
we don't
Europe.
talk about 2015.
All right, but in reality, a fantastic start to the group stage here for Flash Wolves, getting this second victory over Fnatic. And really all I want to do here is start working our way back through the gameplay as it happened, because a number of big skirmishes breaking out between these two teams, primarily around the mid lane, full 5v5s.
So the thing is you look at one side and it's very clearly a pick-poke composition. You have the Zoe, you have the Morgana, they're just throwing skill shots across the screen, Venn diagrams of murder. But I love the creative comp that Flash Wolves put together in response. Who are you going to kill? Between all the sustain, the Trundle, the Vladimir, the Soraka, and then you've got the big tanky front line of the Ornn, you're never able to really capitalize on that poke unless you instantly kill someone, which means all pressure is put on Caps.
Yeah, I actually think Flash Wolves had a couple of counters built into their composition. The fact that they had hard engage against poke, and then also the fact that they had sustain against poke. So
Yeah, amazing they got both.
I really did feel that if this game got late and you got Warmogs on the tanks, the Flash Wolves would be in a commanding position. And the gold was actually even up until the last fight.
And a part of me feels like this is one of those questions that we had coming into the tournament, which was how well prepared are teams for the upcoming meta? And one of the big discussions we as a team had was, if Morgana and Rakan are the big priority supports, what will be the answers to them? And today, we've now seen, I believe, 2, maybe even 3 Sorakas come out, and it has been impactful in not only gaining bot 2v2 leads, but at really mitigating the strengths that Morgana can provide and finding those picks, because you provide so much sustain, the silence for the counter. Soraka, I feel, is becoming a big answer to this Morgana in the bot.
All right, of course, those were those mid-game skirmishes. I want to push us ahead to the final fight, or mostly the final fight, the one that closes the game out around the Baron Pit. This one for the Flash Wolves, brought to you by Acer Predator.
And again, it's kind of fish in a barrel situation. The thing is that they're never able to capitalize or make the damage stick, or Fnatic are never able to make the damage stick. More importantly, though, Flash Wolves, the fact that they were able to get 2 Barons this game at all, yes, it's the sustain kind of speaking for the comp that they can continuously approach these Barons and force it down, but some of these Baron setups were just really wonky, and Flash was unable to punish it at all.
They weren't great. I feel like those Baron setups worked really easily in the LMS, and Fnatic was usually checking it. I will say, though, Weepo had pretty bad team fights. He was 100 CS up on the Ornn because Fnatic was playing the map generally better, but the positioning in team fights was pretty awful. They just needed to wait for a Morg binding to land, pull that guy in, hit him with a sleep, and get the kill. And they never really pulled off that combo, and you can see right at the end that gold exploded.
And while Bwipo failed to have a big impact in team fights, I felt like Maple had a huge impact. He had so many fantastic flanks, and his performance throughout this game was just so solid and consistent. It kind of ties back to that mid lane matchup that we looked at the beginning of the game, which was Caps versus Maple. Could Caps provide that consistency? Could he be more staple in this matchup versus kind of a veteran legacy mid laner that so many mid laners around the world respect?
Well, let me reping you on this then, because following game one, we talked about some of the game-winning moves that Caps made, as well as some of the game-losing moves that he made. How did you feel about his performance here in game 2?
I feel like that in terms of the laning phase, he did fine, but he kind of struggled because he was grouping up a lot with his team. I felt like they spent a lot of time as a 5-man unit while not really achieving a huge amount. And while Caps found a couple of cool outplays where he found a good pick here and there, the fact that he kept just falling behind in farm while not applying any pressure to Maple allowed him to come back and have a much larger impact later on into the game.
But this is my problem. Like, we keep saying Caps this, Caps that, and I do agree. There's kind of been a hit and miss moment for Caps, but no one is saying Reckless. I was promised a 2 carry from Fnatic. And yeah, Reckless was on Jen, and you're not going to see, you know, some of those big plays necessarily on this champion, but it wasn't just this game. He had Kai'Sa in game number 1 against RNG. Yes, they had a good lead, but that still wasn't Reckless that was popping off. It was Caps. So where is this hard carry superstar ADC?
He was the MVP of the league, yet Caps is the one who's made every positive play for Fnatic. Like,
Right.
Reckless isn't making big mistakes, but the other AD carries having a larger impact than him. Uzi was 50 CS up the whole game, and Betty just had 9 or 10 kills against him.
Right, so in the context of a completed day one for both of these teams, and again, reminding ourselves that at the top of the day, we said there are 4 stellar, world-class ADCs who are going to be taking the stage today here at MSI. Is Reckless at all? Is he coming close to the mark?
I think he played bad today.
Yeah.
I'm not willing to say that,
Well, I'm not saying he's done so, you know.
But if you only looked at the games today, you wouldn't say that you would put Betty there. Betty actually played better than Reckless that game. He's not playing like he did in the European LCS playoffs, in the European LCS regular season, like he has previously internationally. Like, this is just a bad day.
Right.
But also, I feel like teams are putting more emphasis on trying to shut that bot lane down. Like, in Game 1 and Game 2, he's now had losing matchups. We're not seeing Broxah or Caps provide any assistance in terms of the bot. And kind of emphasis is put a little bit more onto Bwipo to be bigger characters, especially in that game. 100 CS up over his lane opponent, level 16 on a Swain, and failing to have impact in these fights. Like, I feel like the priority is shifting, and Reckless is in a situation where he is not performing, but also the team are not mitigating the fact that enemy teams are doing a great job of shutting him down.
I got a whoa, whoa, whoa.
Because, like, I understand what you're trying to say. Like, this is not a flame Reckless, you know, like, kick him off the graphic, put Betty on the graphic. I don't believe that at all. But in game number 1, having such a power pick like Kai'Sa and seeing what other ADCs, in the LPL, we had Kai'Sa all through playoffs, all through finals. It is a devastating champion, and they did build for it. You know, they had things like the Trundle. That Trundle Kai'Sa comp works really well. So I agree. The lane isn't necessarily the problem or the criticism for Reckless, but in these team fights, he's still not being that factor. And Fnatic are supposed to be the team fighting team.
A very tough start here on day 1 for Fnatic. Flash Wolves, on the other hand, sitting pretty at 2-0. Now after the break, Team Liquid and EVOS look to bounce back as they step on stage for their second game of the day. Don't touch that browser.